Chapter 16, Mail Profits Using the Mail to Build Your Business. Each day, the United States Parcel Service collects, processes, and delivers approximately 550 million pieces of mail. A large percentage of that volume is made up of business mail designed to get new customers or make repeat sales to existing customers. Here are tips on how you can use the mail to bring in business. How can businesses use the mail to market their products or services? There are probably as many ways to use the mail as marketing tools as there are ways for you to communicate with prospects and customers. Here are just a few ideas. Send out traditional direct mail packages, several pieces of sales literature in one package, typically a letter, brochure, and a response card or return envelope aimed at getting the prospect to place an order immediately. Send out sales letters designed to get the prospect to call and make an appointment to talk to you about some products or service you sell. Send out a newsletter to prospects to demonstrate your expertise and drum up sales for your business. Send out invitations to an open house or other event designed to drum up business. Send reminders about several people need to purchase periodically, oil change or health checkups, for instance. Send a package of coupons for items in your retail store to people in your local area. Send catalogs listing new and old products. What kind of response does direct mail get? Most mailers are satisfied if a mailing to a rented list of targeted prospects get a 1% response. In other words, if one person out of 100 responds to the mailing, that figure goes down to 1/10 of 1% or less if the list you mail is to a residential mailing list, rather than a list of people who share a specific interest. It goes up often to 5% or more if you are mailing to a list of customers who have purchased from you in the past. With a mailing, as with advertising, response rate are important for planning and estimating. However, what really matters is the cost of getting the customer and the long-term profitability of the customer. If you are selling one item by mail, you will need to look closely at how many responses you will need to make make a profit in order to determine if the mailing is worth doing. Is it less expensive to use the mail to get customers than it is to advertise in magazines or newspapers? It depends on what kind of mailings you are doing. If you are trying to sell products that compete with commercial items and you will be mailing out expensive sales literature, you could easily spend as much to reach 5,000 people with a direct mail piece as you would spend to put out an ad in a publication reaching tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of people. However, your mailing might have a better chance of getting seen and read than an ad would, thereby getting more responses and orders. If you are a freelancer or a small service business that sells to other businesses, you could send out a simple sales letter to a hand-picked list of 50 or 100 likely prospects for less than $50 and possibly land one or more clients who will give you thousands of dollars worth of work. Is one mailing enough to get new customers? Often no. Just like with ads, people have to see your mailings many times before ordering from you. Some mail marketers prefer a series of 6 or 7 different letters and mailings and automatically send out a different letter in the series every few weeks until the customer buys, or until they reach the end of the series of the letters. Each successive mailing brings in new customers that the preceding mailings didn't attract. Where do I get mailing lists? You can get mailing lists from companies called mailing list brokers. You can also get lists directly from some magazines and associations, or you can create your own list from contacts in your industry or by calling companies likely to need your products or services and asking for the name of the purchasing agent, a department head, or whoever would be responsible for making purchasing decisions. Among the companies that rent mailing lists are American Business Information Inc. at 5711 So 86 Circle, Omaha, Nebraska 68127. Phone is 402-593-5493. Fax is 402-331-6681. Compilers Plus, 466 Main Street, New Rochelle, New York 10801. Phone is 1-800-431-2914. In New York, 914-633-5240. The fax is 914-633-5261. Edith Roman Associates, 875 Avenue of the Americas, New York, New York, 10001. 1-800-223-2194. In New York, it's 212-695-3836. You can find many others in the yellow pages of your phone book or in the standard rate and data services, the SRDS directories available in your public library. What kind of lists can I get? There are two broad categories of mailing lists: compile lists and response lists. Compile lists are created by getting names and addresses and phone numbers from phone books, industry listings, and government lists of business names. Each name on the list may be verified by a phone call and, in some cases, name of contacts if a business can be added to the compiled information. A response list is a list of people who have responded to some appeal, a mail order, ad, a subscription offer, etc. These lists generally cost more and produce better responses than a compiled list. How often can you use a mailing list you get from a mailing list broker? It depends on the company and the list and on the form in which you buy it. It used to be that you could only rent mailing lists for one-time use. Now, however, you can purchase some lists on computer disk or magnetic tape and use the list as often as you want within the time frame specified in your agreement with the mailing list company. Compilers Plus, for example, will sell you compiled lists on either disk or magnetic tape and allow you unlimited use of the list for a year. Response lists generally aren't available on diskettes. How does the list broker know if you use the list? If you reuse the list? Lists are seeded with names of people who get and track mailings to prevent unauthorized reuse of lists. What does it cost to buy or rent a mailing list? The base prices for compiled lists average about $50 per thousand names to rent for one-time use. The fee to purchase a compiled list may be about double the rental fee. There may also be a flat fee added to the price to put the data in disk format you can use. The base price for a response list generally range from $75 to $125 per thousand names. Usually, response lists can only be rented for a one-time use. On top of the base prices for compiled or rented lists, you normally pay extra for selecting names by zip code and for pressure-sensitive self-sticking labels. You also pay extra if you want phone numbers in addition to addresses, or if you want names and titles of contact people at various organizations. In many cases, there are minimum fees or a maximum number of names you must rent at once. One company, for instance, has a minimum fee of $95 for a compile list and a minimum order of 5,000 names for a response list. How do I choose a list? You choose a list that matches as closely as possible the characteristics of your customers or expected customers. For instance, you might be able to get a list of all female executives who have purchased some type of mail order products in the last 6 months. If you can describe your typical customer to the list broker, he or she should be able to help you identify and get the best list for your needs. You could also compile your own list from your knowledge of industry or from the local phone book. What's a house list? A house list is a list of your own customers. If you sell a line of products or the type of service that is needed periodically, your house list will often produce more customers than any other list. How important is it to have the name of a person on the mailing list? Usually, you will get a better response if your address mailing to particular people. A letter addressed to an occupant or a sales manager or president or purchasing agent immediately tells the recipient that what is inside an ad from a business or individual they don't know. That makes that letter less important to read. Overworked business people and homeowners who don't like getting junk mail often will throw out such letters without ever opening them. What should I put in a mailing to find new customers? It is usually best to include sales letter, brochure, and a response card or a return envelope. Some people just send out a brochure or a sales letter, but using both gives you more opportunity to explain what you sell and show the recipient of your mailing the benefit of your product or service. How do I write a sales letter? The purpose of a sales letter is to sell. In other words, to convince someone to take some specific action, such as order a product, call you for an appointment, visit your store, and take that action immediately. Although that might seem obvious, many small business owners send out sales letters that don't sell. A typical letter reads something like this: We are pleased to announce the opening of the George Jones Bookkeeping Service. The service, which is designed to help small businesses meet their bookkeeping needs, uses the latest computer equipment to store all customer records. You can reach us from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. at 555-1234. The problem with a letter like this is that the recipient really don't care that you have opened a bookkeeping service or anything else. What might interest them may be enough to call you is information about your service will do for them. What your service will do for them. Tell them how you can save them time and minimize errors, or perhaps help them reduce their income tax bill by making sure they have all the records they need to take all the deductions they are entitled to. Then you are much more likely to catch their attention and attract their business. How do I write a brochure? Use the brochure as an example of your sales letter. The brochure should give you further details about your product or service, but it should still sell, not tell. The cover of the brochure should highlight the key benefit of your product or service, and the text and the headline inside the brochure should build on that benefit and add one or two additional reasons to buy or call you immediately. Finally, the brochure or the separate response card should ask for the order or the phone call, and, if possible, give the recipient an incentive to do what you have asked immediately. The incentive might be a discount for ordering before a certain date, a free gift for calling within the next 5 days, or something similar. Be sure the brochure includes your business name, address, and phone number in several places. You also need to make sure people who see the brochure for the first time can immediately tell what the brochure is all about and what you want them to do. Studies have shown that you have between 3 and 7 seconds to capture a prospect's attention with your mailing piece. If the prospect can't figure out what you are selling or why it should interest him or her, your brochure will wind up in the garbage. One good way to test the clarity of your brochure is to have someone who knows nothing about your business read the brochure and tell you what he or she thinks the brochure says. If the person can immediately tell you what you are probably what you are offering and why it's a good idea to buy what you are selling, then your brochure probably will accomplish your goals. If there are questions about what you are selling or about the information in the brochure, you probably have not conveyed your sales message as well as you could have. In that case, consider rewriting the brochure or have a professional help you write it. Do I need pictures in my brochure? Photographs or drawings can be useful in your brochure if they help get your sales message across. If the pictures are just there to satisfy your ego or sense of pride, they probably don't belong. You may be thrilled about the new building you are moving into. Your customers probably don't care, however. Thus, including a picture of your new building is likely to be a waste of space and money, since it costs extra to put a photo in the brochure. What kind of information should go in a brochure? You will want to make sure your brochure includes all the main features of your product or service and that it expresses those features as benefits. For instance, instead of saying your database software stores customer data, you talk about how the software saves time by automatically printing customer addresses on shipping labels or improves cash flow by making it easy to spot overdue accounts. In addition to features, you would want to include facts, statistics, and perhaps testimonials that would help the reader make a decision to call or place an order. If you are using the brochure to make a special offer, the nature of your offer and how the recipient can take advantage of it, as well as a cutoff date for the offer, should be very clear. How do I get testimonials? Satisfied customers will often write or call you to tell you how great they think your brochure or service is. These people, if asked, often don't mind letting you include their comments about your products or services in your sales literature. You should get a signed statement from them indicating you have their permission to use their comments in your sales literature. Can I make up testimonials? No, that is a violation of trust in advertising law. Can I rent my mailing list to other companies? Renting mailing lists is a good source of extra income for many companies. However, you will usually need to have at least 5,000 to 10,000 names for your list to be rentable. The information also will need to be current and accurate. If your information is much more than 6 or 9 months old, it may have too many addresses or name changes for business contacts to be useful to others. Do I need a bulk mailing permit from the post office to send out mailings? Mailing permits let you take a discount on large mailings if your mailings meet certain post office specifications. These specifications include the number of pieces mailed at one time, the uniformity of the pieces mailed, the destination of the mail, and the method of sorting, bundling, and depositing the mail at the post office. Since you have to pay one-time permit fees plus an additional annual fee for each class of mail for which you want discount rates, you will need to be mailing at least several thousand pieces of mail each year in batches of at least 200 to make getting a permit worthwhile. At this at this writing, the one-time fee and annual fee are $75 each. If you are going to use a letter shop to prepare your mailings, they should be able to send out your mailings using their permit. Should I use the first class mail or third class? That depends partly on your budget, partly on how soon you need the mail to arrive, and partly on whether you want your mail to look like a letter rather than an ad so that it will get opened. If you are mailing a piece that must reach everyone on the list by a certain date, and that date is a week or two away, or if you want your mailing to look like a regular letter, use first class mail. Sending the mailing third class immediately alerts recipients that it is not a personal letter. In addition, third class gets sent only after all mail goes out. If a post office is particularly busy and it is during certain times of the year, third class mail sits on the side until someone has time to get it. This means it can sometimes take more than 2 weeks for third class mail to reach its destination. A brochure urging readers to visit your trade show booth isn't going to do any good if customers get it a week or and a half after the trade show is over. How can I make my mailing stand out among all other junk mail people get? One way to make your letter stand out is to use real stamps on it rather than using a meter. Using a lot of small denomination stamps instead of one first class mail stamp may make it stand out too. Still, another way to make your mail stand out and get people to open it is to put a message on the outside of the envelope telling people that the contents will benefit them or save them money.